Oh, hey there.
Oh, hey there.
I am Kate.
And I am Bradley.
And this is History Buffoons.
Yeah, the origin of weird History Buffoons.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
And I just played Bradley the song Louie Louie by the Kingsmen.
Yes, great song.
Great song. What does it remind you of?
Boy, just for me, it just reminds me of classic rock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so good and it's iconic.
I don't know if this song is in this movie, but it always brings me to Mr. Holland's Opus.
I've never actually watched that movie.
That's a brilliant movie. Richard Dreyfuss.
That's it. Thank you. I'm like the guy from Jaws.
Yeah, exactly. No, that is a great movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've heard good things about it. I just never, for some reason, just never watched. That came out like what, late 90s?
Pardon me.
That was epic. Thank you for that one.
I don't know when it came out, probably.
I want to say, but I could be off again. I don't know it that well, so.
Whenever we had a band concert, the very next class, we don't have anything to do, really.
Right.
So he would put on Mr. Holland's Opus, and we would watch that as kind of some downtime.
There you go. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this is going to be the untold story of Louie Louie.
Oh.
And the FBI investigation into it.
I think I don't know what
you
it
know
is,
of it.
but I think I remember hearing of this, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
So Louie Louie actually began as like a rhythm and blues song,
right.
Written by Richard Berry in 1955.
Yeah, it's old.
Yeah, he was inspired by Latin and Caribbean influences.
Okay.
And he kind of lifted that da-da-da, da-da-da, kind of that beginning riff from Rene Touzet's cha-cha called the El Loco Cha-Cha.
Cha-cha.
Yeah, I'll have to kind of let you listen to that afterwards.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. But Barry's original lyrics were about a lovesick Jamaican sailor who pours his heart out to a bartender named Louie.
Oh.
And it's about missing his girl from across the sea.
Right. Makes sense.
So Louie Louie is a bartender.
Okay.
So Barry first recorded this song with his group, the Pharaohs, in April 1956. And it was released in LA radio, but it was kind of a modest.
Didn't do much.
No, didn't really do much. But it actually kind of turned out to be a hit in Southern California.
Okay.
And Barry would perform it all up and down the coast.
Right.
And by late 1957, Louie Louie made it into the charts in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that cha-cha rhythm kind of made it kind of a staple at school dances.
I would say it's very catchy dance song.
Exactly. So. And there was like a bunch of like teenage bands that would start playing this song.
Oh, okay, sure.
So one such band was from the Pacific Northwest, from Portland, Oregon. They were the Kingsmen.
Right.
Okay. They were formed by high school friends in the 1960s. Singer Jack Ely, guitarist Mike Mitchell, drummer Lynn Easton, and a couple others.
Okay.
And they would play this song at like little sock hops.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Did you ever have sock hops at your high school?
No. It was all just modern dances.
They would throw them from time to time in mine, just because nostalgic or whatever purposes.
Don't let it die down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I wonder if they do those to this day and age. I guess I'll find out when my kids get a little older.
There you go.
But yeah.
So in April of 1963, the Kingsmen pooled $50 together to book a local studio for an hour.
Oh, wow.
And record the tune as a demo. Okay. Actually, they kind of wanted to play on a cruise ship, so that was their demo to get on a cruise ship to play.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So the recording session was chaotic at best.
Okay.
The production studio actually had pretty limited experience recording louder rock bands.
Sure, they were probably used to softer jazz or something like that.
Softer or like single soloist, that kind of thing.
Right.
So the engineer of the studio suspended the only microphone above the 20-year-old singer Jack Ely's head.
Right.
So they wanted to capture like a live feeling.
Sure.
But it was so high from the ceiling that Jack literally had to like stand on his tiptoes and yell up at the microphone.
That's wild.
To sing it. Okay.
That's funny.
He had to shout also because he had to go above all the
music.
The music, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being in a band and recording in my life, a lot different back then from what you do now. Whereas, like, the way we always did it is basically we would all play together but record one thing. Like, and usually I was the first one to lay down the track. So if I got mine done, and then we would take the drums, and then they would sit down and layer the guitar and bass and the vocals over me. We didn't do it all at once. But you see bands like an old movie like the Doors movie, which is a great movie, but they show them all playing at the same time, even though Jim Morrison is in a booth and stuff. But they always had to play all at once. So they did it literally in usually like a take or so. Whereas we could just fucking do it over and over and over until we got it right. So quite different.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Jack Ely, I just spit all over my computer.
Wow.
That was pretty epic. There was some arch with that one.
Some distance.
Distance with that one. So Jack Ely also had just gotten dental braces at the time.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
And his words were so slurred.
Yeah.
You honestly couldn't even tell what he was saying.
Yeah. And doesn't that come into play here?
And they did it all in one take.
Yep.
And the lead vocals kind of came out in this like growling howl.
Yep.
And one band member said that wasn't our best, but they released it as a single.
Well, they only had so much money. They only had the 1 hour.
Yep. They only had 1 hour.
They didn't have options to do it otherwise. So they had to release what they came up with. So makes sense. So
by December 1963, the Kingsmen's Louie Louie rocketed to Billboard's Hot 100 Top 10.
Wow.
Eventually peaking at number 2 on the charts.
That's impressive.
And drummer Dick Peterson recalled that the band was as stunned as anyone by its success.
Sure.
He said, quote, "It's nothing more than a good party song, simple, basic garage rock and roll that somehow appeals to people."
Right.
But everybody loved that like 3-chord simplicity.
Yeah,
kind of made it
catchy.
Irresistible.
It's very catchy.
Yes, it is. So the flaw in all of this is Jack Ely's indecipherable vocals.
Yeah, that's where the problem comes in with the whole.
Most listeners couldn't make out the words, and rumors began to swirl around
what they were saying.
The lyrics were actually dirty.
Right.
Yes. So teenagers around the country started kind of filling in the blanks with their imaginations.
Yeah.
And someone once wrote, "Everybody who knew anything about rock and roll knew that the Kingsmen, Louie Louie, concealed dirty words. Kids used to pretend they couldn't hear them in order to panic parents, teachers, and other authority figures. In reality, the actual lyric was the sailor's innocuous love lament, quote, 'A fine little girl, she wait for me.'"
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what the X-rated stuff was because it's not important.
Right.
But it didn't exactly stop teens from trading like typed handwritten sheets of bogus X'd out lyrics and, across the study halls and everything.
How many songs have you listened to in your life where you didn't know the exact words, but you heard something?
Oh, for sure.
And that's what you put in there.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, people have been doing that for years and years.
Oh,
I don't know, since music.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of funny that it was such an ordeal that there was, I mean, I know different times 62 years ago, but there's plenty of times where it's like, what do you say? Sounds like this. You start singing it and you finally
You're like, that's not what it was at all.
Like Rocket Man, burning up my fuse up here alone. Nobody knows that fucking line unless you actually know what like Elton John is. But if you hear it, a lot of people get it wrong. Or like, Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza. Not Tiny Dancer. A lot of people sing that because it sounds like it.
Do you know the song How Bizarre? How Bizarre.
Oh, of course.
I always thought he said, help is on, help is on.
See, exactly.
How bizarre, help is on.
It's funny, and again, I know different times, but it's funny how many times throughout history people fuck up lyrics to what they think they hear because music's funny that way. Yeah. It's different to everybody.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
So, many adults grew alarmed at the idea that an innocent-sounding rock song might actually be corrupting their kids.
Right.
So, two small-town Indiana teenagers, for example, were so shocked by what they heard that they complained to their school officials. And these are teenagers that are complaining.
So weird.
Mm-hmm. Complaints soon made their way to the government officials. And in January of 1964, a high school teacher and parent of a teenage girl wrote an outraged letter to the U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy demanding action.
That's just wild.
She said, quote, "My daughter brought home a record of Louie Louie and I proceeded to try and decipher the jumble of words. The lyrics are so filthy that I cannot enclose them in this letter. I would like to see these people prosecuted to the full extent of the law," end quote.
That's just so dumb. Being a musician myself, I find this just ridiculous.
Yep.
And whatever happened to free speech. But whatever.
Around the same time, Indiana's governor, Matthew Welch, made headlines by publicly denouncing Louie Louie.
Oh, good Lord.
Governor Welch claimed the song was so obscene it made his ears tingle. And in February 64, he requested radio stations in Indiana to ban the record.
Good Lord.
Yes.
That's so dumb.
Of course, because of this, the press picked up the story.
Well, of course, they're going to run with it.
One reporter noted, quote, "Within months of its release, the record was banned in several cities and states, including Indiana and Michigan." So, responding to the public outcry, the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI launched an investigation into Louie Louie.
Isn't it funny that the FBI had to launch an investigation? Like, don't you have something better to do?
Yep.
I mean...
Oh, wait till you figure out how long it was.
Because this is still in 1963, right?
64, early 64.
This is early 64? Oh.
So the question for the investigation is, had the song's producers or performers violated laws against interstate transmission of obscene material?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Apparently.
Wow, okay.
In other words, did the Kingsmen knowingly put dirty lyrics on the record? So, I mean, a lovesick sailor's lament, I guess maybe could get there.
I mean, that is pretty dirty.
Nonetheless, under pressure from furious parents and politicians, J. Edgar Hoover opened a file on Louie Louie.
Jesus.
As one FBI memo later put it, quote, "The popularity of the song and difficulty in discerning the lyrics led some people to suspect the song was obscene," end quote.
And can I ask, why didn't the Kingsmen just come out and be like, this is what we said?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Absolutely get to that.
Good, because what the fuck?
The FBI investigation lasted nearly 2 years.
What a waste of fucking resources.
2 years.
I mean, Jesus, could you imagine if you bring that FBI and some of those people to today and have them hear what is on radio?
Oh, they'll be embarrassed. They would be embarrassed.
They would be just they'd probably faint from just stupidity.
The Bureau, through surprising resources at the time, no fewer than 6 FBI field officers from Tampa to Detroit got involved.
Jesus.
Multiple U.S. attorneys took interest, and the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, opened its own inquiry.
Okay.
Agents gathered evidence, interviewed witnesses, and shipped copies of the record off to the FBI crime lab in Washington for analysis.
So what witnesses? What did they witness?
This is when they would bring in the Kingsmen.
Okay, because, I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
Did you see them go in there and sing dirty words? What? Okay,
so some of the highlights of the investigation in February of 1964. FBI's Seattle and Indianapolis office received complaints, Robert Kennedy and others.
Yeah.
The lyrics are so filthy, we can't enclose them in this letter kind of thing. The Bureau opens up a criminal obscenity case on the song, and the question was there improper motivation in making the lyrics so unintelligible as to give rise to reports that they were obscene? Was there any wrongdoing? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
March 1964, with the fake lyrics in hand, FBI technicians begin their forensic examination of the record. They play the record at 45 RPMs.
Yep.
At every conceivable speed. 45, slower than 33 and a third, faster than 78 RPMs, straining to discern any curse words hidden in the slurred singing.
Do they play it backwards too?
You know, I don't even think they said something about no matter what speed we listen to it, it's very possible they played it backwards, but I don't know. I don't recall if I wrote that down or if I read that.
That was always a big thing, especially back in the record days.
I think they did.
They always said that bands would hide.
Right.
And it's funny because when you played things backwards, things would come. And again, it's similar to what you're talking about. Like your mind said, well, did you just say that? Like worship the devil.
Right.
Like if you played a Black Sabbath album backwards or some shit.
Right.
And it's like, no, it's just your mind is putting it there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like those paranormal shows on TV where they say like, oh, did you just hear that?
He said, hey, Jack.
And then they play it back and that's all you think of because that's what they told you.
Exactly.
Anyways.
May 1964, lacking evidence of any crime, the FBI's initial inquiry ground to a halt.
Yeah, imagine that. By
May 15th, the Bureau had shelved the active investigation, noting that no further investigation is to be conducted in this manner.
And there's rightly so.
So the first phase of the saga ends with no charges. Okay, the FBI's own summary later admitted the limited investigation from February to May of 64 discovered no evidence of obscenity.
Right.
Okay. More than a year after, quote unquote, closing the case, J. Edgar Hoover was pulled back into it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And on the 18th of June, a woman from Michigan, later identified as a teacher, an anti-pornographic activist from Flint, wrote directly to Hoover demanding to reopen the file.
I mean, did you not have anything better to do? Because it wasn't really pornographic. Why don't you focus on that shit?
She said the alarming rise in venereal disease.
Because from that song? I mean, what the hell?
Venereal disease, perversion, promiscuity, and illegitimate births in the teen groups can all be pointed at this song.
It really can't be. Way to just like use a scapegoat.
You know, she convinced that Louie Louie was part of this like big scheme about all the indiscretions that teenagers are up to.
Right, because God forbid, you know, they do something on their own. It's all from this one song.
So Hoover was like, all right, we'll look into it again. The activist wrote back with field research of their own.
Sure.
She and her group had played the record at various speeds and claimed somewhere between 45 and 33 and a half RPMs, the obscene articulation is clearer.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So she had a theory. The Kingsmen performed a clean version on television because they did appear briefly on some TV performance, but released a secret obscene version on vinyl.
Sure. Because they had the funds to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So summer and fall of 1965. Renewed pressure. The FBI expanded its investigation further. Agents in New York re-examined the actual production.
Yeah.
In August of 65, they discovered a technical detail. Louie Louie was recorded in mono on a single track, not on a 2-track tape. Can you briefly explain that? Because I don't know what that means.
Well, like you said, they hung the one microphone up. So like the way you and I record, we're on 2 tracks.
Okay.
So you have a track, I have a track.
Right.
So with the one microphone hanging above them, that's just one track. So that's why they had to play live and everyone had to shout over the band and so on.
Okay. So yeah, they said that there was no isolated vocal track to scrutinize.
Correct.
Okay. Yes. Perfect. So in September of 65, the FBI finally went straight to the source.
About time.
And interviewed the song's composer, Richard Berry.
So the original guy.
The original guy.
Not even the Kingsmen guy.
Not the Kingsmen.
Yeah, which still doesn't make sense because why wouldn't you go to the band that sang it?
Exactly. Barry confirmed the real lyrics. Nothing dirty.
Right.
Sorry, dudes.
Yeah, he's just talking about a girl he missed.
Mm-hmm. The Bureau then finally summoned members of the Kingsmen.
About time.
For interviews in September of 96.
Good
one by
Lord.
one, band members who were now in their early 20s at this time were questioned.
Right.
After advised of their rights as if under like criminal suspicion.
So wild.
They flatly denied everything.
As they should.
Mm-hmm. The Kingsmen told agents that their label had been so frustrating by the false rumors that Wand Records even offered $1,000 reward to anyone who could prove the record contained obscenities. Like, even they're like, go ahead, put out a reward. There's really nothing there.
Yeah, it's nothing. So
yes.
You won't find anything.
Yes.
Wow.
So, as one band member observed to the FBI, he said, quote, "Those who want to hear such things can read it into the vocal." The band also debunked a theory that they had re-recorded vocals to include dirty words, and they confirmed the release track was a one-take live recording with no overdubs. Yeah. So by late 1965, October-ish, the FBI had effectively exhausted the case.
Of course.
On October 29th, 1965, they noted that all Kingsmen members interviewed, quote, reported it definitely contained no obscenity, end quote. Another report famously summed up the lyrics remained unintelligible at any speed.
Well, yeah, because like you obviously hear Louie Louie. You can pick out a couple other, but I couldn't tell you every single word. I know like the flow and the feel and so on of it, but I couldn't tell you all the words.
Yeah.
Not even close.
So after 31 months.
Oh my God, it's such a waste of time.
The government quietly gave up. They're like, we're just going to shut the book on this.
Yeah, we'll just shelve this investigation here.
The FBI's investigation was officially closed on October 10th, 1966.
Good Lord.
When the lab returned the Kingsmen record and lyric sheets to the originating office with no further comment.
Okay.
No indictments over Louie Louie.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Okay.
The agents actually did miss an obscene word.
Which is?
Around the 54-second mark of the song. And when I played it to you before we started recording, I heard it. I was like, yep, there it is. Drummer Lynn Easton can be heard accidentally shouting, "Fuck," after dropping his drumstick.
That's funny.
No one noticed.
Right.
No one noticed.
That's so funny because, like, and now you listen to songs like, they have swears all around.
Oh, yeah.
And the lyrics and the content and the suggestion of it. Not even close.
So they later said the controversy is part of what kept it on the charts, because the kids thought they were getting away with murder. They're like, oh my God, we're singing this dirty song.
Yeah, like, look at this. Hey, look I got this single of this song, man. It's dirty. Let's go listen to it.
Yep. So no explicit legislation was passed as a direct result of the Louie Louie fiasco.
Right.
If anything, authorities became more cautious about seeing how difficult and somewhat ridiculous it was to prosecute a song for imagined obscenity. But get this, the singer Jack Ely was never questioned.
See, that's like what? Well, literally just go to him first.
Yep.
And he could be like, no, this is what I sang. Oh, okay. Case closed. Okay. I mean, how dumb are they? It's just such a waste of resources and taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
And then, like the lady, I think you said she was from Michigan. Who was against pornography, and whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She's an idiot.
Yes.
She was just looking for a scapegoat to make her causes look better. And like, she's like, all this is happening because of that song. So many things throughout history have been blamed on music. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been some tragedies, and they might have some correlation only because the person who did such bad things listened to Marilyn Manson. Yeah. And then went and did some unspeakable things in Colorado. Or video games or whatever. Yeah. You know, it's just so dumb. They look for a scapegoat so they can blame it on something, when honestly, a lot of it is just shitty people.
Yep, absolutely.
Or poor upbringing or whatever it might be.
But yeah, that is the story of the Kingsmen song Louie Louie and the FBI investigation
That's
into
so funny.
it.
I did briefly, I don't remember how long ago it was I heard about that, but I never looked into it. I just remember seeing like a blurb or something, maybe whatever it was. And it's just funny that they literally, and it took that fucking long to realize, no, we got nothing here,
and then
boys.
they actually did miss the one obscenity.
Which is funny. I guess I never really paid attention to it that much. I mean, I've heard that song countless times throughout my life.
Right.
But
I'll point it out to you.
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. What a waste of time. Welp.
I suppose.
All right, buffoons. That's it for today's episode.
Buckle up because we've got another historical adventure waiting for you next time. Feeling hungry for more buffoonery? Or maybe you have a burning question or a wild historical theory for us to explore?
Hit us up on social media. We're History Buffoons Podcast on YouTube, X, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also email us at historybuffoonspodcast@gmail.com. We are Bradley and Kate. Music by Corey Akers.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and turn those notifications on to stay in the loop.
Until next time, stay curious and don't forget to rate and review us.
Remember, the buffoonery never stops.